It's like, I want to be YouTube famous, and recorded this. Oh, look at this thing. Have you ever had anything strange that you cannot explain happen to you out in the wilderness or woods? Well, buckle up and listen to this story. We're going to tell you a little bit about who we are, and then we're going to get into this crazy 2023 Colorado story that there is no explanation for. So this is the Pork Please podcast where we talk about guns, gear, and gadgets. I'm Todd.
I'm Shon.
And just kind of give you a little rundown of us. We spend a lot of time in the woods, most of it at night. We've seen mountain lion, hogs, all kinds of stuff. We've had some close encounters, but just to give you an idea of the type of guys that we are, fight or flight. We're the fight type. We do not run. I'm going to let Shon tell one of his stories real quick.
All right, Todd. So back in 22, so this was a year before we went to Colorado. Went out a month before elk season to do some scouting because it was a new area. Wanted to get familiar with the area, see where the elk were moving and things like that. So me and a couple buddies go up there. Went out for breakfast and met the cook that cooked our breakfast. He came out. It was just a small town, and I wanted to know what we were doing. So I'm like, we're up here scouting for elk. We're trying to find some good spots to go. And he's like, well, I can tell you exactly where to go. I used to run cattle up there. Sounds like a good game plan. Let's go there first. Well, needless to say, my buddies had a little extracurricular activities the night before. So they didn't feel like making that hike, right? And also the day before, we shot all our ammo up. So I had no ammo in my pistol at all. So you pull up to this mountain, and they look up it, and they're like, ain't going, not doing it. So I'm like, I'm going to go up there, see what it looks like. I'm just going a couple miles up. I'll be back. You guys take a nap, do whatever. So I go up this mountain.
In your defense, though, I remember this story a couple of years ago. In your defense, these guys were target practicing with your gun, and you didn't realize that they'd spent all your ammo.
Yeah, I didn't.
When it was time to go, you had an empty gun, and you're like...
That's my fault for not taking enough ammo, right? So anyway, leave the gun and everything in the truck because it's useless, no ammo. And I start up this mountain. And when I say I go up a mountain, it was a mountain.
I've seen your mountain trails.
It was the same mountain you were on, but I went a different path. So it was hands and feet crawling up. Took an hour and a half to go 3/4 of a mile. So it was a pretty steep climb. But once you get up top, it flattens out. So I'm following a fence row. The cattle have got it all worn down. There's cattle running up there in the summertime and fall. And the cows, they don't see any humans. They're really skittish. So I'd see a cow and it'd take off through the brush. And a lot of oak brush up there, so it's pretty thick. But they've got the trails by the fences wore down. I get up top and it flattens out. And about every 10 steps, there's a pile of bear crap. This is awesome. I got a bear tag. I'm ready. I got an elk tag, a bear tag for muzzleloader season. I'm coming up this mountain. I'm going to kill something in a month. Well, little did I know, the bear thought I was dinner first, right? So I climb the fence and I get into this burn area where it burned about 5 years before. So the oak brush was about knee high. And out of the left corner of my eye, I saw what I thought was a red cow. Because I saw it moving over there and rustling around. And then all of a sudden, I heard a, oh. And I'm like, that's no cow. The hair on the back of my neck stands up, and I turn and look. And just as I turn and look, this bear starts charging me. And every time her front feet would hit the ground, she would grunt. She was trucking, coming fast. And the first thing I did is reach for my pistol. Well, guess what? Didn't have it. So my next instinct was to run, and I took 2 steps, and I'm like, I'm not going to outrun this thing. So I turned around, and I raised my arms up as high as I could and started screaming like a little girl. I know, it's kind of embarrassing.
Hey, you.
But
what else are you going to do?
Really, there was nothing else to do. I thought I was going to die right there. So this old sow, she came up within about 5 yards of me, stopped, looked at me, gave me a growl, and then took off running the opposite direction. And 2 big old black, probably 100 pounds each, cubs. They had to be 2-year-old cubs right behind her. And they went down the hill.
I've had a couple close encounters with bears because I've got a lot of time hunting bears and stuff. I had a similar situation, but it was with a mountain lion in northern Arizona. Every year I hunted deer up there. It was always cold enough that when you're hunting in northern Arizona, you cannot have a firearm on you if you're archery. And every year it was cool enough or cold enough that I could conceal a pistol in my waistband and have a jacket on, and just in case I saw a game warden, I'd be good to go. Well, this particular year, it was way too warm. It was like 85 degrees, and it was brutal. So I couldn't conceal pistol, so I'm like, away I go. So I'm out there. It's up on Bill Williams Mountain, just outside of Flagstaff, Arizona, and I see a really nice buck. And I'm like, oh, yeah, game on. And the trees are real spread out until you start getting up on these bluffs or up on these mountains. And I'm putting a stalk on this deer. And, I mean, I'm going, and I'm going, and I'm going. And I'm paralleling him, but I'm slowly getting closer and closer. First of all, he's probably out 170, 180 yards or whatever. And I start getting closer and closer. Well, pretty quick, he starts going up this little part of this mountain, this rocky part of this mountain. Well, now I lose sight of him. Get on top of the mountain, I lose sight of him. And I get up there, and all of a sudden I hear, and I'm like, I think it's two trees rubbing together. It was a little bit of a breeze, and I think it's two trees. And I'm stopping, and I'm like, that ain't two trees. That's a mountain lion. And I'm like, oh, buddy. So I'm like, oh, shit. And I'm looking around, and I could hear it leaping. And I'm like, this is not good. So I pull out my knife, and I've got my knife in my hand with my bow with an arrow knocked. And that mountain lion stalked me for 45 minutes.
Oh, man.
Down and you talk about the hair stand up on I mean, like a bear. I definitely don't want to get in a fight with a bear. But I'd rather fight a bear than a lion.
Oh, yeah.
Because them lions, they are so elusive. We've actually had 7 encounters in Texas with mountain lions.
Yeah, hog
night.
hunting. Well, even during the day. That day we were walking that draw.
That one time
I had one pop up 15 yards in front of me.
And that was remember I got on the radio because that one popped. I was on the other side of the draw, and it popped up on me, and I was like, oh, crap. And then a couple minutes later, it popped up on you.
Yep.
So we have seen a couple during the day, but that one there in Arizona, 45 minutes backwards down this mountain with an arrow knocked, and just the hair standing up. And I heard it the entire time. You'd hear it and rustling in the leaves, and nothing else is going to jump that 12 to 15 feet and then land. And it was a scary situation.
And you don't turn your back on them.
No, hell no.
Not at all.
All right, I tried to move my manly cat here, but she got a little irritated with me and almost had a near-death experience with this poof ball, so we're going to have to leave her where
This is Todd's mountain lion.
That's my mountain lion right there. So another couple things is I'm too old and beat up, 57 years old, and I broke a lot of bones and got really bad knees, so I ain't running from no hog. I've had several gunfights at point-blank range with some big old boars. This guy, on the other hand, tends to dive on hogs. Matter of fact, it's happened twice in the last month. He tends to dive on a lot of pigs and go full UFC on them, and it's a little crazy.
Just got to lighten the mood. So we've had some pretty challenged shooters. I hope that's not offending anybody.
Yep.
But we've had some challenged shooters that spend all the ammo, and then we get a wounded hog, and everybody's out of ammo. So gotta do something.
There's been many times where I'll have my thermal scope and I'll look out across the field, and there you are, 300 yards chasing down a pig. But
keeps me young.
I hear you. So let's get into this Colorado thing, guys. So I want to be the first to say that no explanation for what happened. And
it was a series of what happened.
Yeah,
just one incident.
Right. I'm sure a lot of guys are going to say, oh, I saw this or I had this. This was 4 consecutive days of stuff happening.
Right.
And I'm not saying it was Bigfoot. I ain't saying it wasn't an alien. Don't know. And there's no explaining it. But it is really weird. And when you have 9 experienced outdoorsmen with guns up in the middle of nowhere, and we're all like, yeah, they're right. Yeah. So anyways, we're up in Colorado. We're up at about 11,000 feet. And we're 11 miles from the nearest road.
Right.
Nearest main road.
Yeah.
So we are in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Sticks. And we get up there and, man.
Highest camp on the mountain.
Highest camp.
Amok season, so there's camps everywhere, right?
Yeah.
But we're the highest camp.
Yeah, but there was nobody close to us.
No, we were quarter mile from anybody.
Oh, minimum. Yeah, it makes the crow flies.
Right.
So there was nobody even near us. And, hey, you just go to the beauty salon and get those nails cut. See, now her tail's going. She's ready. You had picked out a beautiful spot when you were up there previously scouting. I mean, it was a spot. And I actually kind of a little diagram here of what we had going on. So here, the main road. And this main road, most places you could squeeze 2 vehicles by,
right.
Past another vehicle.
It's a mountain road. This here
No way.
A logging road.
That is a logging road. That is one lane.
Four-wheel
drive only. I mean, a rough road.
Yep.
Okay? So we pull into our camp. We set up tent here. This was the crapper and shower tent that pumped hot water on demand right out of the creek for showers. We had our big cook shack right here and our little fire pit. Well, here, this tip here, had a big tent, had a lot of storage and stuff in it, a lot of coolers with food. In our crap and shower tent over here, I mean, there was the
guns in there,
the Starlink. I mean, all stuff was in there.
We were glamping, not camping, glamping.
Mind you,
I mean, Starlink, generators, hot water.
Yeah. These were outfitter tents, the pull-out, heavy canvas outfitter tents. And to tell you how big this area was here, we had enough room for both vehicles with trailers in there where we didn't have to worry about it. I mean, you had plenty of room. The other thing is where this logging road goes up over here, this was a pretty good hill. It was steep. It was steep.
Yeah, it was probably 60, 70 yards.
It was steep climb. Like, I would climb it with my knees. And this was right behind these tents over here, and this hill kind of like there, and the road was up above it. To get started here,
we got there on Friday. Season started
Saturday. Yep. Mm-hmm. So we got there on Friday. It was absolutely beautiful. I mean, beautiful place I'd ever been in the entire world. There were areas there that were so rough and so rugged and just...
Well, a lot of people might know, the Rico, Telluride area. San Juan Mountains is where we were.
And there's places there that no modern man has ever been.
I mean, it's some rugged terrain.
I mean, it's some rugged stuff. So we get there on Friday. We get camp set up. Takes about 4 hours or whatever to get camp set up. We get our camp all going. Everything's all good, great. Hunt Saturday, hunt Sunday, hunt Monday, and then Tuesday night...
Some crazy stuff started happening. So, started Tuesday night, and I mean, it's coming down pretty good, right? I got the nights right.
Tuesday. It's either Tuesday or Wednesday it started. No, you know what?
Tuesday
It was Tuesday because all my stuff got a little bit wet.
Because you guys moved out of...
Because I was down in that bottom part of the tent and a bunch of my stuff got...
Yeah, so a leaky tent. So it was Tuesday night, it started raining. It's coming down pretty good, so... I was sleeping in the lower tent, the one lowest.
Yep. So
that'd be tent number one.
Yep.
On the map. So I was sleeping here. Todd and everybody was in this tent, and this really road, so to speak, as much as of a rockway,
rocky trail.
Yeah, just a rocky trail. Some big rocks, little rocks, stuff like that. So about 1:30 in the morning, I woke up because it sounded like something was throwing rocks down that path that we drive up, and
because the tent door was on this side, right?
It was facing the path, but I mean it's probably 10 yards off the tent door, but it sounded like boulders, and I thought, man, it must be raining hard. It's washing rocks down the drive, right? And then so didn't think nothing of it. Went back to sleep, right? Wake up in the morning, and Kevin was sleeping in his cot across from me. And he woke up and he's like, man, did this sound like something was throwing rocks last night? And I'm like, yeah, it was crazy. Woke me up and we looked down, and in between us, it had to have come in under the door of the tent, was a rock about this big around.
Oh, they're bigger than I thought, because I never looked at them.
Rain doesn't move rocks like that.
Right.
A rock. And it was 4 feet inside the tent. So how it got there, we didn't think nothing else about it. We didn't say anything to anybody. We didn't mention it. We just shrugged it off. Oh, well, there's a rock in the tent, right? Oh, well. So, comes to the next night, right?
Yep.
You want to tell Richard's story?
Well, so the next night, Tate and I's stuff got wet. We were in tent number 2, so we moved over to tent number 4. So, because we were down on the end of this, and there was a leak on the end. So, we were like, hey, man, we got to dry our stuff out. We're going to move up to tent number 4. So, we moved up to tent number 4. Tent number 2 is Richard and Dustin. And it was somewhere around 1:30 in the
same time I woke up.
Yeah. They had heard something, so now they're both awake.
No, woke up.
Richard wake up before Dustin?
Yeah. Woke up because he heard something up on this hill.
Yeah.
So that's 50 to 60 yards up.
And he heard what he described as a weird moan type growl, which to be that far away, it had to have been loud.
It had to be.
Had to have been loud.
It was because
So then at 3:30 in the morning, they were woke up again. Both guys, now Dustin and Richard, awake. And they're like, what the hell? And now they're hearing footsteps around the tent.
Right.
So something's going on. Something's walking around the tent, and they're hearing this low growl. I don't know how to explain it. They're hearing this low moan growl, and Dustin recorded it on his phone.
Yeah. Now, unfortunately, couldn't find that recording for us for the podcast, but just that sound of what he recorded, it was 100% not a bear. 100%.
I've had a lot of encounters, a lot of experience hearing bears and seeing bears and being in close proximity to bears, whether they're calm or pissed off or whatever. And this was not a bear, not a lion. It was the deepest, longest growling something.
It's like hard to describe.
I mean, long. And it was... So anyways, they wake up the next morning, and they're like, hey, you got to check this out. So Dustin brings his phone over. He's like, man, you got all kinds of experience with bear. He said, does this sound like a bear? And I'm listening to it on his phone, and I'm sitting there, and I listened to it 5-6 times, and I said, that ain't no bear. And he's like, what is it? And I go, hand his phone back to him. I'm like, that ain't no bear.
Right.
And it was so, like, we both had mountain lions bawl and squawk at us.
Yeah.
This was no lion. It was no bear.
Well, let me back this story up to prior to this night. And I haven't shared this with you or anybody else, okay? So Dustin hiked that mountain up. And I hiked to the top of that mountain that night, the night they heard the growling. So it was still daylight.
So it would have been Monday night?
It was that night, Wednesday night. So Wednesday day, me and Dustin hiked the mountain, stayed up there till dark. He came down early.
Oh, yeah.
Down that hill by myself in the dark. And I swear to God, I was being stalked. I mean, it was a headlamp. Didn't have a thermal on me. Didn't have nothing. But eerie, I was being stalked. I didn't tell that to anybody because we had rocks the night before, right? We didn't know about growl. We didn't know any of this.
And you just kind of have a feeling.
It's just that sense of, man, something's not right. Something's weird is going on. So I come off the mountain in the dark, and I was humping it because it was just that eerie. Fight or flight. I had a muzzle loader.
Yeah.
So anyway, getting back to the growling.
Well, and then a few hours later, this growling shit happens.
Right.
They went up in the morning, and Dustin's letting us all listen to this, and guys are like, what in the hell is that?
And Kevin lives up there.
Kevin lives there. Yeah.
He's a Colorado resident. He's like, there.
So we're just like, whatever. Being in the woods. Anything like this ever happen to you guys? Let us know. I mean, weird, right? So now let's get on to Thursday
night. All right.
So Dustin goes up the mountain with the side-by-side.
Yeah. So he takes my old side-by-side up the mountain, and everybody goes out for their afternoon hunt, and we all get back to camp. It's dark, and, we fire going. I'm looking around. I'm like, hey, Dustin. Oh, we haven't seen him yet. I'm like, something's not right. He's the only one with a vehicle. So,
and it's 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, it's 10.
When he comes
dark.
rolling in, it's 10.
Well, he didn't come rolling in. I'm like, let the truck and drive up there and see if we can find him. Sure enough, we drive up there. He's walking down, and I'm like, what's going on? Well, the side-by-side won't start. Okay, let's still get the trailer and hook it up because I don't want to jack with it.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
We turn around, drive down the hill, drop him off, hook up a trailer, and go back up this logging road right here. So this is right above our camp. And we went, up the mountain to the actually the highest parking spot on the mountain you could go.
And really, the only area that you can turn around.
The only area.
So, and you can back and down that, especially,
No.
I don't even know if you could back down that during the day. I mean, late night.
Not with a trailer.
Well, you back down that with a truck.
It's sheer drop off. So anyway, we pull up it, get the side-by-side loaded. I've got a winch on my trailer, so it took a whole 5 minutes. Back up, winch it on, get it loaded, turn the truck around, headed back down the same road we just came up. Granted, maybe 15, 20 minutes has passed, and no other vehicles came up that road.
The thing is, where we were at here, if any vehicle came down this road, we would have heard it. If any vehicle went up this road, 100% without a shadow of a doubt we would have heard it.
Yep.
And nothing came up that road.
Nothing.
Matter of fact, we heard you coming down.
Okay. So we're coming down the road, and we get to this point about right here. And there is a log, and it's not a small log. It is a log about this big around, probably 10 foot long, laying perfectly across the road. Perfectly. I mean, it perfectly placed, blocking the road. And it was a pine, and there were no pines around. We were in the aspens.
That's right.
It didn't even belong there. And it's perfectly placed. So I didn't think nothing of it. I get out of the truck. I'm like, what the heck did it come from? I'm shining a flashlight around. And Evan's driving the truck, and he goes, hey, you got your pistol on you? I'm like, nope. You might want to get that log moving, get your ass back in the truck. This is a Colorado resident, right?
Right.
Like, this ain't right. Something's wrong. So I couldn't even pick that log up. I had to end over it, up and throw it, And I'm a stout guy. I can pick up some weight, but that thing was heavy. So I had to end it to get it off the side of the road. I hop back in the truck. We get back to camp.
Well, I remember. So now it's you weren't gone very long.
No,
at all.
Probably 45
and
minutes.
You
tops.
come walking into our tent, and you're like, I've been in some scary situations with you to know your demeanor and know your personality. You did not have a scared look on your face. I've never seen you with a scared look. I mean, it's happened. I've never seen you with a scared look on your face, but you had a very, very look.
Oh, yeah.
And you into our tent, and you're like, you guys need to make sure you're sleeping with a sidearm tonight. And I always do. Why? What's going on? And you proceeded to tell me the story, and I'm like, what? And you're like, I shined my flashlight up the hill, down the hill, on the road. There were no drag marks. There were no skid marks. There was
nothing.
No way this fell on the road. I mean, picked up and placed on the road. And 100%. I'm like, nobody went up that road. And you're like, something was up there. And I'm like, nobody went up that road, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. Weird.
Weird. So we all go to bed, like, all right, or now this is 3 nights in a row. Weird stuff had happened.
Right.
So now Friday morning.
And we're all sleeping with our guns now.
Yeah. Friday morning, we decide we're going to go out and we're going to tag some grouse.
Mm-hmm.
Grouse, and we'll meet back at lunch and then come up with a game plan. So we go out. Everybody gets back around that lunchtime, and the Starlink system in the generator's back here. Starlink was in this tent.
And there were $3,000 worth of guns in that tent.
Yeah, and generators sitting right there. I mean,
right. Now keep in mind, these are canvas outfitter tents. Staked down. The bases are staked. The peak is 10 feet high. The sidewalls are 6 feet high. I mean, outfitter tents.
So, first thing I'm like, there was no cell service. No, I mean, in that area up there, you were like in the middle of freaking nowhere.
Yeah.
And we were able to fire up Starlink and get internet so you guys could check your phones and whatever. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to go start the generator. Well, I go walking around. We're all kind of hanging out. I go walking around our tent, and I get back to this tent, and I come walking out front. I go, hey, you guys got to come over here and check this out.
Yeah. So, up, and the first thing I notice is all the stakes are pulled out of the ground. So the tent itself is staked down, and then the sidewalls of the tents have ropes coming down, and we had those all staked down because it got windy up there. All of them are ripped out, and the corners of the tent, all 4 corners, are perfectly folded over the peak of that tent. Nothing inside's touched. That was not the wind. It was something big enough to reach the top of the tent.
Well, and mind you, so now we're all standing there. You know about these outfitter tents than I do, and I'm like, all right, hold on here. There has got to be an explanation. So we start pulling the canvas down, and I'm like, let me try to do it by myself.
Mm-hmm.
I can't, with all those poles and the whole structure, I couldn't get the canvas corners by myself.
Yeah.
Because you get one and then you go to get the other. You could not get it down by yourself. So now 2 of us got the canvas down about halfway down on the sidewall, and I'm like, all right, it has to be the wind. But the winds weren't that strong. So you go to pull it up, and you get it up to that point of getting it over that
heavy.
5-foot sidewall.
Yeah,
it's heavy as shit.
It's all bound up.
Yeah, to get up over the corner, and I'm starting to realize that, all right, there is no logical explanation for what's going on or what just went on. And now what? We all look at each other, and I don't know who said it, but you're talking about 9 outdoorsmen.
I said it.
So you said...
I think that's enough. It's time to leave.
Well, first of all, though, you had said, something is telling us not to be here.
Oh, that's right. It did.
and we're all just kind of like this. And you're like, something is telling us not to be here. And then you said something about, I think this is enough.
Yep, it's time to pack up.
And everybody went, yep, let's go.
Yeah, we had 2 days hunting left, and it did not take convincing not one guy on that mountain.
Dude, it was 30 minutes.
We needed to leave.
It was 30 minutes, and we had a 4-hour camp.
Yeah.
Packed up, loaded back on the trailers, everything put away, and...
4 days of 4 incidents that are unexplainable.
We've had the talk about, big aliens or something.
Monsters under Denver Airport. The government has a underground experimental lab.
Well, I'm not going to mention my buddy's name, but I'm going to tell you, like he told me, he says, man, he has a friend that he went to college with that works for the Department of Defense, and he's been to Area 51, and there is stuff there.
Some crazy shit.
That we don't, that even like today's technology, we don't even understand it.
Right.
He said that the highest point of alien activity is in Colorado.
Yeah.
Said that, and that's government.
Yeah.
So we've had the discussion before about, Bigfoot and like that. I saw Starlink going across.
Yeah, he thought
I was like, I want to be YouTube famous. And recorded this. Oh, look at this thing. Sent it to my kid. He's like, Dad, that's Starlink. Whatever. Every year where a hunter or a couple hunters end up disappearing and they don't find hiding or hair, tracking dogs, everything.
Just unexplained stuff.
They just don't find them.
Yeah.
Right? I've always said that if Bigfoot does exist, or even an alien, there would be remains or a trail camera or a hunter. Somebody would have seen it or got some type of evidence. And, you got all these BS Bigfoot shows, and all that. I don't remember what night. It might have been that Wednesday night that Richard and I were up on that mountain and Tate was down below waiting for us. And we're looking at our map and we're like, hey, it's like 600 feet down to the road, or it's an hour and a half on the trail. Let's just go down.
Yeah.
Big mistake.
Bad idea.
Big mistake.
Yeah.
There are parts of Colorado that I guarantee you no modern man has ever seen. I mean, it's so rough and so rugged and so wilderness that, I mean, it was a Sasquatch. I'm not saying it was an alien. I don't know. But I'll tell you what, when you have 4, not just one thing happen,
right,
but 4 consecutive nights of things going on, was perfectly fine in the morning when we left.
Stayed down.
We were gone a few
There were
hours
no
and came
winds
back.
strong enough to pull those stakes out of the ground.
No way.
There were no winds.
And there was nobody close to us, and nobody would have come in our camp this entire time because there were vehicles there. So it's not like it was left unattended. There were, even when we were gone, we were taking side-by-sides and shit. There were vehicles there. There were trailers there.
Well,
there were buggies there.
If somebody wanted to jack with us or take something, there was plenty there to take. You know? Walk up a mountain and pull your tent up and do something like that. Who'd come up in the middle of a rainstorm and throw rocks?
If you were going to try to discredit our story and say, oh, the rocks could have been somebody jacking with you. Maybe that bear was wounded and that was the huffing and puffing and growling that you heard. Maybe a big gust of wind came up and messed with your tent. You can't explain the log.
The log was unbelievable sight.
You cannot explain it. I mean, when you came back to camp, and it's dark 30, you come walking into our tent, and we had a couple glow sticks hanging in there or something. I saw the look on your face when you walked into the tent, and you just went, hey, you guys need to be sleeping with a pistol tonight, or you need to be sleeping with a sidearm tonight. And I'm like, well, I always do. And I'm like, what's going on? Mm-hmm. And just the look on your face was very serious.
Yeah.
It wasn't scared. It was serious.
Yeah, I mean, it was nothing to mess around with.
And when you started telling the story, I'm like, I mean, it's just, these things you cannot explain. And then when we got back to Texas, kind of like, all right, we ain't talking about it anymore.
Yeah.
It was done.
But I do know what happened that week, and I can't explain it. And I don't know if I'd believe it if somebody told me this story. But I lived it. And it was real.
But like I said, it's one thing to have one thing happen. You're up there for a week, 10 days, maybe a couple strange things that you can't explain, or not 4 days in a row.
No.
Not 4 days in a row.
Crazy.
And to me, the nail in the coffin is that log.
Yeah. And listen, guys, we want to hear from you. We want to know, has any of this ever happened to you? Have you had 1, 2, 3, 4, or more of these things happen to you in the woods in southwest Colorado? Because not that we need confirmation, but maybe just some ideas about what your thoughts are on it.
Talk about another little strange thing that happened last year, and I completely forgot about, and then was reminded just a couple weeks ago. I don't know if I ever told you this. I don't know if I told you this recently. Do you remember last year we took out a group of hunters and we shot on a bunch of pigs in the pecans? We cleaned all the pigs up, loaded them on the buggies. The guys were kind of looking around or whatever, and then we loaded up and we got out of there. About an hour after we got out of there, one of the hunters said, "Hey, you ever seen a ghost in the thermal?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Well, I saw a full silhouette."
What?
I didn't tell you this?
No.
Dude, he said, I'm sure you were out on that hunt with us. But he said he saw a full silhouette walking through the pecans in the thermal. And I'm like, okay. Well, I forgot about it. That dude was just out with me 2 Wednesdays ago.
Yeah,
and
reminded you?
And as soon as we pulled into the pecans, he's like, "This is where I saw that ghost." And I went,
That's
"What?"
crazy.
I go, "That was you?" He's
crazy.
like, "That was me." He said, "Full blown." He said, "Swear to God."
Well, you know that's the backside of John Chisholm's old property.
Yeah.
And we found a few cowboy graves down there.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And he said that he saw a full silhouette of somebody walking through those trees.
That's nuts.
And I can't believe I didn't tell you that.
You didn't. I would have remembered that.
That's so if you ever had anything weird happen, tell us. I mean, it's just...
The unexplained.
And I'm like, Bigfoot, alien, I don't know.
Yeah.
So anyways, please like and subscribe. Tell us your thoughts. Share a story with us. Let us know what happened. I want to thank you guys for watching.
Pork Police, out.